How does it feel to live here?
In Yangon?
Yeah.
It's a good city. It has a good energy and a good vibe. And I came not knowing anything about Yangon or about Myanmar, but immediately I felt this is a place where I can live and I can stay.
What does it make different?
I like Southeast Asia in general, so I feel at home in Southeast Asia mostly. And the energy in Yangon is good. There's so many things are changing now very noticeably, like almost daily you see things are changing, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse, but there's not many places in the world where you can feel these changes, I think, at the moment.
And as for the LGBT community, how is it? Is it open? Is it closed? Are they changing? Because you've been organizing a few things here, right?
We started 2.5 years ago with like 90% expats and like 15% gays maybe at the party, and slowly we made our name in the Myanmar community, and we are a cheap party and we want to be accessible to people, but at the same time the people who can go out at night, spend a few thousand on a beer and take a taxi home is of course a very small percentage of it. And so with the party we started with 4 people, and now we have a list of volunteers enthusiastic volunteers who always help out, and like the bar I'm doing with 2 friends, so I'm not doing anything for myself, and I couldn't do anything by myself, really, never. But we organize the only monthly LGBT party here. And so the LGBTs I see are from a higher class LGBT, so it's a narrow band of society, of course. But for that, what I see is it's changing. Like it's opening more, it's more out in the opening. People are slowly coming out more to their parents and to their families. People are getting a bit more educated. You see more in the newspaper about LGBTs and about LGBT rights. So to me, with my limited view over the last years, I feel it's changing for the better.
And what about those that do not belong to the high class? Do you have any information on that?
It's hard to say. Like we organize the film festival as well, but of course the people who do come to watch international films is also slightly higher class. So it's different worlds. Like not just the LGBTs from a lower class, but with everybody in Myanmar who speaks no English at all and lives a different life mostly on the outskirts of town. I don't meet them, or there's no interactions basically.
If you could compare a bit like the gay life here and gay life in the West or in the Netherlands, or what would be like the main differences or similarities as well, like personally but also in the movement?
Here it's just that it's very limited. There's very little going on for LGBTs. It's not much in the open. So yeah, it's a different world just because there's so few things, and it's not visible in the streets mostly.
Any positive?
It is changing. Like the initiative we're involved in are slowly becoming more better known, are more in the press. Sometimes TV.
What about the people themselves? Because we were talking yesterday with a lesbian woman that did not want to talk to us on camera, and she said that there is this like great collective feeling of expats and the LGBT local community. So we found that very interesting.
But I think that's a very limited part of the community. Like that's people who I know and who I meet, and that's oftentimes it's people who have lived outside Myanmar for a while, or I just became friends with foreigners, and they feel very comfortable in there because they can be themselves. There's no people don't think differently of you when you're gay or lesbian, but that's a very small part of the LGBT community, I think.
And in general, like walking on the streets, do you see people that you would identify as LGBT or like trans people, for example? Because I've been walking here and I haven't seen any yet. Unlike Thailand, for example.
Yeah, I see it sometimes, but not necessarily a lot. No. Like the transgender community often works in beauty shops. So if you go to a certain part of the market where all the beauty shops are, then you will see them for sure. But that's quite, of course, it's a shame that's one of the jobs where they can work in, where people don't judge, where it's sort of expected that you work, so where it's easy for them to find employment. You will not find them in offices, I think. Not many.
I read somewhere that transsexuals or trans women are sort of high because they have something to do with spirituality, or
So there's the nets. The
nets,
Yeah. So that's transgenders who are spiritual, who are in touch with higher beings, and there's a yearly net festival which is very big and which people go to. So they go to the nets to get. I'm not sure if it's a hand reading or at least, but to have like their future told or to go for advice, and they're respected for that. It's a slightly different community. I think in India it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Traditionally there has been, exactly. They are respected for that, but
it's
yeah,
still
right.
yeah.
And it's a little bit the same. Like yes, they can also be beauty, work in a beauty parlor. Yes, they are the nets, but larger in society, they are not very well respected. I think.
Do you know any information on violence against LGBTI persons?
Yeah, I don't read it. I don't read about it a lot in the newspaper. Like a few times that I've been here, it's been in the news. So not on a large scale, but for sure, if a trans person gets into contact with the police for whichever reason, she will be discriminated against, and there might be some repercussions or violence or. Yes, would not be surprising.
And family relations, how do you see like people coming out to their parents? Because I know that it's quite hard, right, in general. But do you know any story of someone that came out like in a positive way, or?
Like I'm hearing at FAB sometimes that the guys are at our monthly party. I hear that the guys are coming out. But often this is from families who are better off. Maybe they've been abroad. Maybe these kids have been abroad for a while. And I don't hear it so much from really Myanmar families. It's happening more and more, but for the majority of Myanmar LGBTs, it's still incredibly difficult. And I guess the majority will not be out for their families.
And how is the international scene here? Like all this international development job being done here, and now Myanmar is open, and
like it feels like a new full airplane full of expats arrives every day these days. Like it's exploding, the expat community. So yes, there are also plenty of LGBT expats, but it's not one scene or something. Like of course I meet them here in the bar or in our party. But it's not like they all know each other or that they're necessarily one community they know, but the ones who are here longer, they all know each other, yeah.
And the relation with the locals, how do you think the locals perceive the expats in general here? And also in the LGBT community?
In the LGBT community, I think they mix quite well, partly due to the party where people meet quite easily, also over Grindr actually, yes. For sure, it mixes. In society at large, I'm not sure. Feelings toward expats might actually be changing for the negatives. I don't think it was so negative earlier, but because inequality just becomes bigger and more people know housing accommodation here is incredibly expensive, so more and more people know that people pay thousands of dollars for their house here. And I can imagine people are getting a more negative feeling towards foreigners.
You mentioned Grindr. Is it okay to use it here? Or is there
plenty of people do.
Fear? Because I was in Egypt a few weeks ago, and there was this fear that police agents would be using Grindr and trying to meet. And I mean, there are a few news about that.
Yeah.
Does that happen here?
No, not at all.
Actually, I made a profile yesterday to check, and then I saw there were most people have just their face picture or body. So I was.
Many are fake.
Surprised.
Many are fake also, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, I think a lot of them have a fake photo, but there's no fear of the government. The only thing people would be fearful of is running into people they know, being outed at work or somewhere else. But the government does not actively prosecute LGBTs.
Police abuse or treatment or...
For sure there's police abuse, but not in an institutionalized way, I think. I can only remember one incident in Mandalay like 2 years ago when like a group of trans people at a meeting space outside were all arrested with no charges, and that was in the news. But people are not arrested institutionally, or that is, there's harassment for sure, but not on a very large scale.
About migration, do you know LGBTI people from outside Yangon that move here? Is it like a hub for LGBTI persons to feel more free, or not necessarily?
I'm guessing it must be. I don't know. I don't know any personal stories that I can that they don't come up, but for sure it must be like the rest of the world, where people will come to Yangon or to the hub. Like I hear it from the party, which I always really like it when guys tell me like I came last month and I went until the door, but I didn't dare to go inside. Which is quite relatable also to me when I was the first time I would go to Amsterdam to a gay party, and I think this will be relatable to people all around the world where you know that there's this gay club, you would like to go in, you know that there's people who are like you but you've never been, and these stories I hear regularly, so it must be like that also for people coming to Yangon to explore their identity and sexuality and to be free are here than they would be back home.
Usually we ask the person to send a message to and we usually receive that same face.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Jeewee van Fore. I live in Yangon. I'm from the Netherlands. I've been here for a while now, organizing LGBT parties and a film festival. And I've slowly gotten involved in the LGBT life here and in LGBT rights and issues. Not something that I wanted to do back home or that I've ever done back home, but it's something that I enjoy creating experiences here, creating places where the LGBT community can come together, where they can meet, where they can enjoy places that are not so formal but that have a good party atmosphere, to create a sense of community. And yeah.